Stacy would fuck me so good, I would buy him groceries. Stacy need his nutrition. And you know the good dick ain't never connected to a good man. You know it's never connected.
Now, I don't know, Leslie. Now, I done had some good D before, and it was attached to a good man. I'm just going to say the truth about what it really was, and that was I just didn't want him. I didn't want him at the time. And I'm going to speak on my experience, and it may apply to some other women, and it might not. So here's the part that I know a lot of women don't want to admit. For me personally, I grew up very restricted. No freedom, no exploring, no real social life, just school, good grades, and straight home. So when I hit my 20s, I wasn't looking for peace or partnership. I was looking for freedom, bitch. Like, I wanted excitement. I just jumped off the porch. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to feel what it feels like to finally be living. You know what I'm saying? I want to go out there and experience the bad boys. And by then, I had already had a child from a bad boy. And instead of choosing stability, I chose rebellion, right? I feel like I needed to make up for all the lost time, when I was a kid, of not being able to do what I wanted to do that other kids were doing, right? So there was a good man in my life back then in my 20s. Good mind, good intentions, good discipline. He wanted to build, he wanted marriage, he wanted strategy. He took the time to really know me. You know what I mean? And I have to say, I've had a lot of good men. Some of them I've slept with. Some of them we were just the greatest of friends and they were interested in me. Some of them we were just like friends with benefits. But what we did have was an understanding of each other. You know what I mean? And I was honest with them. And I told them I didn't mishandle them. I wasn't careless with their feelings. I told them I'm simply not ready. I'm not, and they understood. Like, I needed to get that out of my system because with that kind of urge of wanting to jump off the porch and go and do exciting things still in my system, I was never going to be a good partner for them, right? So a lot of them did understand that. Like, bitch, I feel like in my 20s, like, God was just throwing them at me, throwing them at me, throwing them at me, throwing them at me. But again, I was so tired of being a good girl because that's all I knew. Like, that's all I was. I was a good girl as a kid. I was pretty much a good girl, up until about the age of 17. And when you get thrown good man after good man after good man, and you've been so restricted up until that point, you're just not going to want to be locked down like that, right? You want to get out and you want to live life on your own terms. You want to see what you were missing out on. And like I said, this is a man who knew how to talk to me. He knew how to speak to me. He knew how to speak in me. You know what I'm saying? He knew how to uplift me. He knew how to say things to me so that I can understand them and possibly get me to see a different perspective because I'm real headstrong. And it takes a really strong man who's secure with himself to be able to navigate that. You know what I mean? Especially when you're dealing with someone as I was, slightly, well, not slightly, but mostly self-sabotaging and a lot less mature at that age. And to find it in your 20s, you're not going to take care of that. You don't know what you have sitting in front of you. You know what I mean? But I knew enough to know that he's a good friend and I'm not finna be careless with him and I'm not finna break his heart and I'm gonna tell him the truth. You know what I mean? And that's what I did. I confused chemistry with compatibility, and that way of thinking cost me years of failed relationships. And so then later on I did the opposite. I tried another route. I tried dating and marrying men who were financially stable, who looked good on paper. Right? And I was like, oh, we can work on the love later. Long as they've got the basics, we can work on the love later. And even then, shit was still not working. They didn't care for me the way that good man in my 20s did. They didn't see me. They didn't understand me. Right? And that's when it finally clicked. I'm 41 now. And that the best sex I've ever had wasn't about technique or wildness. All the toys, all the different positions, none of that shit. We didn't do none of that shit in my 20s. But what stood out the most is that emotional connection that I had. It was about trust. It was about feeling safe. It was about being emotionally chosen. So, no, good dick is not rare and it's not cursed to be attached to ain't shit men. I don't believe that. But good dick attached to a good man requires you to be ready for peace, ready for partnership. And I just wasn't. And when you're that young and sheltered and hungry for freedom, you don't know that yet. Right? You think you're missing out on shit. So you go experiment with chaos. And sometimes you have to live to understand that. Life had to be a teacher for me. And I don't shame my younger self, but I don't lie about what that mindset cost me either, you know? And sometimes the lesson isn't that good men are boring. Sometimes the lesson is that you weren't ready to stop self sabotaging yet, right? And I ain't judging myself and I'm not judging other women. That's my grown woman truth.